guys, it's Reagan, and today I'm bringing you my April wrap-up. So the month of April, I read so many fantastic books, like a lot of just super solid things. So we're gonna go ahead and just get started on all of them for you today. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I read a total of 6 things, which is the most I've been able to read during the school year so far, which I'm quite proud of, even though this month was crazy. And so, kudos, Reagan, kudos. So the first book I completed this month was Redeployment by Phil Clay, and this is a collection of short stories that won the National Book Award last year, and they follow very many different stories and perspectives during, around, and in the Iraq War. And it's just an extremely eye-opening book, at least for me as a civilian that's never experienced any sort of combat, obviously. And additionally, I'm not really from a military family or anything like that, so I'm not really surrounded by this type of culture and experience. So reading this really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I never really thought about before, meaning this is why I think this book is really important for anyone to read, because I just think it offers a lot of perspective, and I found it to be very, very, very rewarding, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I read, because I wanted something a little lighter, which was ironic, because I picked up The Winner's Crime by Marie Rutowski. This is the second book to the Winner's Something trilogy, the first one being The Winner's Curse. I thought this was a very strong second installment. I really, really love this world. It's a fantasy novel that doesn't have any magic and is very much politically based, which I personally really enjoy reading. I love the chess game of court and people maneuvering around other people and spying and all sorts of secret telling. I just really enjoy that, and this book has a lot of it. Additionally, it's very, very well written. The writing is quite beautiful, honestly, which I, like to absorb with my brain. And lastly, the romance is really great and entertaining, and the thing that I appreciate about it is it's very angsty, but all the angst, at least in my opinion, is logical. Like, I understand why there's miscommunication, I understand why they're keeping secrets from each other, because really in the grand scheme of the complex nature of the politics of this world, it makes sense, so I appreciated that. So I ended up giving this second installment a 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you haven't picked up The Winner's Curse, I highly recommend it. It's a super fun and fast read, so yeah. Next, I picked up another favorite this month, and it is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This was nominated for the National Book Award last year, and this book was just a gem. It follows a theater troupe surviving, but it follows the theater right before the world ends, shortly after the world ends, and like 20 years in the future. So you get a lot of perspective with time passing and stuff like that. This novel is just so good. It's a super fast-paced read. It's written beautifully, but there's also a lot of action and, mystery that kind of keeps propelling you forward as well. I personally just love how it connected humans together in this great story of just humanity and growing and moving forward and relationships. I just really enjoyed every little detail of this book and how it was told and all the characters. I thought it was a really lovely read, and quite frankly a very fast-paced read, so I definitely recommend picking this up. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads as well. Next, I picked up another collection of short stories, which is bizarre for me because I've never read short stories before in my life, and here I am reading 2 collections in 1 month. Matilda, you know you're not supposed to be doing that. So I ended up picking up The Shell Collector by Anthony Doerr. This is his first published work, I want to say, and it's just a collection of all sorts of short stories about different people in their lives. It's kind of hard to explain, but they're all really centered and based around nature, but not just any particular nature, remote, hermit living nature. Some of it set around the ocean, some of it set in Montana area, really ranchy. And I thought it was a good collection. Some stories I really, really loved. Others I was about. But overall, I ended up giving this a 3.75 out of 5 stars. If you really like Anthony Doerr's writing, I recommend picking this up because you do get a taste for that. But it's definitely not mind-blowing, but I really did enjoy some of the stories in here. I found it to be a worthwhile read. Then I picked up another favorite that I read. I'm telling you, I had a really great reading month, and it was The Martian by Andy Weir. Holy macaroni, I just loved the reading experience of this book. Okay, let me tell you what it's about. So The Martian follows our main character, Mark, and he's on a manned mission to Mars with his crewmates. But there's a complication while they're on Mars. A huge sandstorm hits, which requires them to like leave and evacuate before a scheduled launch. And while they are leaving to evacuate Mars, the crewmates, due to a series of events, believe Mark is actually dead. So they leave him on Mars. So that's the opening of the book, and Mark basically starts a journal and he's like trying to survive on Mars until the next manned mission can come and save him. So yeah, this book is amazing. There's a lot of reasons why I love it. The first one being it is absolutely hilarious. Mark's log literally is laugh out loud funny. I don't think I've laughed this hard at a book in a very long time, and it was just such a fun read for such a kind of a technically a heavy, you know, survival type story. Like, he is alone on Mars and yet he's making us laugh, which is just so great. The second thing I loved about this was the science. I am by no means an aerospace physicist. I don't know anything about space or how to get there or the math and the science. But this book does a fantastic job of doing really complex science and explaining everything, which I think is really interesting, but in a way that it's attainable for, you know, varying degrees of knowledge of science and engineering and space and physics and stuff. So it's just super fascinating to read all of this like real science, you know, space science as well. That's a technical term, real space science, if you're wondering. But yeah, I absolutely love this book, The Martian. Totally check it out. It's becoming a movie, I think, next year with Matt Damon as the main character. And yeah, I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars. Totally loved it. And the last thing I completed in the month of April was a graphic novel, and it was unfortunately my least favorite thing I read this month, and it was The Fade Out by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. This is a film noir graphic novel set in the 40s, I want to say, following Hollywood, like writers, actors, actresses, like that whole scene. And basically at the beginning of this graphic novel, one of the star actresses is dead, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding how, why, who did this. The art in this graphic novel series is really quite beautiful. It has great like tonality, and it really fits the time period in this whole film noir setting. However, I found the story to just not be that engaging. I wasn't really that interested in what was going on, and in fact I was kind of waiting for it to be over, which is never a good sign when you're reading something. But overall, I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. If you're interested in that type of mystery genre, I would check it out. I think it could really improve on itself. Maybe I'll check out the next volume. Maybe. Alrighty guys, those are all the books I read in the month of April. Let me know down below some of your favorite books of the month, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!